It's been nearly 3 years since the Aboriginal Coalition to End Homelessness came into existence, and throughout that time we've learned a lot, but with each and every step there were emerging questions. One thing that we found early on is that there was a need to build authentic relationships with the Aboriginal Street Community to really get down and drill deeper into what their needs were. So from there we started monthly building community events. We conducted surveys. One thing led to the other. And what happened was we were able to pilot a program called the Priority 1, which was a result of the Mayor's Priority 1 task force. 20 Indigenous individuals who are most at risk in our city, most vulnerable. And we were able to create this pilot with the partnership with Victoria Kool-Aid Society. And basically, overall, what we learned was we couldn't fully quantify love. All we knew is something was working. And in the end, we could clearly state that there was promising practice. And I say that because people remained housed. The good majority of them remained housed. And what they shared was that having the support of an elder, sense of community, sense of family, sense of belonging truly made a difference. But when we did a 1.5 point review, we also realized that even though we were able to keep people housed, we weren't creating pathways to healing and recovery. And that's what really instigated the need to bring people together to begin to engage in conversations around indigenizing harm reduction. It was most important to me that we bring the elders together because in our communities, our Indigenous communities, really they are the knowledge keepers. They are the ones that transmit the knowledge and the teachings to us. And we just started to have the conversations on how do we indigenize our approach to care for our people that are dealing with addictions and suffering from chronic alcoholism and pain, trauma. And so, yeah.
Reconciliation is hard. Reconciliation isn't easy. And to take a truly Indigenous approach to harm reduction means that Island Health is going to need to reconcile itself to Indigenous ways of knowing, to Indigenous ways of being, to Indigenous ways of doing. And I want you to know that I'm here with you, standing beside you as we walk that road. As you bring us culturally sensitive approaches to harm reduction, culturally sensitive approaches to housing. We're here as your allies to help you, with your guidance, get where you need to go.
See, one of the things we fail to do as a people is we put too much energy into being a chairman or a president or a premier or a prime minister. We think that's the answer. It isn't. The answer comes from within. It doesn't come from anywhere else, but from within. Don't try to do it your way. It's got to be done according to the elders and the First Nations, Indigenous people of this country. Nothing has changed. It's gone from bad to worse. Learn your way, write it, and give it to them, and let them know that we are not sleeping, we are awake, and we are alive.
You can't just give money. You've got to make sure that you find someone that can walk with you and talk with you to give you enough strength not to go and harm your house. Because you can harm your house in many ways. Never ever heard of suicide before. Yeah. And that's very, very strong now. People that are thinking that they're not good enough anymore. We went through that as a young children in the residential school. And it's back again, even though they're adults now.
We don't fit into boxes. Nobody does. You know, we have to learn how to grow together, to really be open to sharing and understanding, and not, you know, it's my way or the highway, because I see that happen. I see that happen in places where our homeless community don't quite fit in, so they have to go back out onto the street and sleep in doorways. I think that we have to learn and grow as a community, all of us, service providers, homeless community, and everyone in this room.
The way I see this board working is that we have to really call out for Indigenous nurses and doctors in a way that can link us to this traditional medicine and that it's actually accepted. So when I think about going back to the well of Corolla, that's exactly what I'm doing, is that right now we're in a time where we have access to health and support, but we need to enhance it by connecting us and seeing us in here. So I left this a little bit unfinished on the side because I think that's really the calling out today of like all of the ones that handle medicine, all of the ones that help the spirits of our people, all of the ones that are drum carriers in the room. You are our nurses and doctors.
In our Kolanitam way, we always stick people in boxes. A box society. You got a problem, I'm going to put you in this box. And I'm going to take you and write all the stuff down about you. And this again, our relation Moy was saying, it's about reconnection. It's about taking the time not to write all these things down about them. But again, with the coalition, we have the opportunity to say, come and find out about this plant. That's all we want you to do. My Shkomanik always reminds me of this. Not samat in Islam. One heart, one spirit.
Omens Numma, we are one. I work with people from North Island, from the Pakwala speaking people, Nuchanuth, Coast Salish, we have Inuit, we have Métis. I don't shake hands in this room, I hug. And I had one cohort family member finally tell me, he said, you know, Auntie Glo, when I used to come in here and you gave me a hug, he said, it made me uncomfortable. He said, because I wasn't used to that. He said, but now I like it.
People feel really displaced, disconnected, and you know, we can't, I don't think that we ever realize how important those connections are. And I heard it today from our people, our street panel, when they talked about, you know, they're helping their friends in community as well, you know, on the street. You build that community wherever you are. Like, I just don't think we can ever ever say that's not important to anyone, because it is. That sense of belonging, that sense of connection. Yeah.
We have relationships with our people. We're going to get to know them first before we start digging into their trauma, before we start doing anything. We need to love them and make them feel safe and make them feel like they might want to make some lifestyle choices. And then we'll talk about your trauma. Okay?
Sorry.
And again, I can't say how important it is to have ceremony. If you don't have ceremony, if you don't have things that they can connect back to the land and figure out who they are as Indigenous people, they're not going to find themselves. So we bring in teachers all the time. I have a full-time elder and 2 part-time elders. When I first opened up, I had no elders because I didn't even think about programs at that time. So I created a social enterprise. And I started to sell things. I catered things. I sold bannock at places. And I created enough money to hire an elder. Then the Western world realized how important that was, and they actually gave me money to hire elders. You need to begin research right away, right at the beginning. I can tell you that we studied the first people that came in, and we looked at their health use, the 2 years prior to being housed, and then 2 years after being housed. We reduced the cost of 55 people interfacing with the health system and the judicial system by $7.8 million. That's unheard of. It's a no-brainer.
I wrote down a little bit today. He said we overlook people's faults and we dig out their potential and work on it and find out their abilities, what they can do good for themselves. Then you bring it out, and it doesn't work overnight, but it takes care and love to help people change. It's got to be a continuous thing about caring and loving each other.
That our language is a strong medicine, a supernatural gift. And when we can get our youth back onto the land to explore through the lens of our language and the processes that held us together in wellness, being one with nature, that the impact will impact their lives forever, and that continuity will be provided. I think of this young man that came to present to ASA when we first began our discussions, and he said when he just couldn't handle it anymore, he had to go out to the forest and he had to take his shoes off and reconnect to the earth, and that's when he regained his strength and his ability to carry on.
The predominant way that we're offering supports is holding space. The way that we hold space the best is with our cultural practices, and that is wrapping around food, good traditional food, and things like working with cedar. I think when we have the traditional resources, food and cedar bark and medicines and teachings, hahopa, that is the medicine that people need to connect to their spirituality and to home and to their ancestors.
The discussion, although it was around the need to destigmatize harm reduction and addictions, the main thing that I got out of that was really the need to encapsulate a holistic approach, bearing in mind the need to adhere to and be aware of the natural laws. But most importantly is that the relationship isn't for today. When we commit to work with our Aboriginal street community, This is about authenticity, authentic, long-term, ongoing relationships.
And it's coming back. We're working on it really hard so that we can speak our language and sing our songs again. So there's doors opening for many things that were shut. And the doors are also opening for the ones that are street people.
The overall conference was amazing. The 2 days, I learned so much. It's difficult to drill it down, but more than anything, I think we have to honor our own knowledge, as the elders said. We have it within us. The answers are within us. We need to frame the questions and the solutions, and that's what we've been doing. So next, we really build on that sense of relationship, connectivity, and the more practical things. We need a managed alcohol program in the city. We need culturally supportive housing. Over the long range, we need an Indigenous healing house. We need to put an Indigenous lens to what we're doing. But more than anything, we just need to get started. Someone said, build it and they will come. And that's what we intend to do.
Do it.
Just get to it.
Get to it and do it.